Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live English lesson. I'm Elliot from ETJ English. Now, while we wait for people to join, as always, I'm just going to welcome you all, those of you who will be watching live, and those of you who are watching the replay. How's your day been? I hope you've had a good day. I've definitely had a good day today. I'm, as you know, currently in Bangkok, and I have been just working today, but I've had a lot of lessons, a lot of students to teach, and it's been fun. We've had some good lessons today, so I'm in a very good mood. I'm feeling great, and I think that's important, especially when you're like me and you're working, in an environment where you have to show your personality. I think you always need to be in a good mood. So it's great for me to be in a good mood for this live English lesson. So, you might know from the title, if you're watching this on the replay or if you're watching live, you might know that this lesson is going to be about building your English vocabulary. How do you build your English vocabulary? What can you do to build your English vocabulary? Now, there's a lot of things that I can go into in order to kind of describe what you can do to build your English vocabulary. There's a lot of obvious things, such as reading. Reading is obviously a very, very useful tool, and they say that anyone who reads, whether they're learning English as a second language or whether they're just reading because they enjoy reading, they say that people who read are far more intelligent and far more interesting, and they have a bigger vocabulary than other people. So I think reading is always going to be an important part of learning English, and especially for building your vocabulary. So please think about trying to read a book. Now, when you read a book, you obviously want to think, what level of English am I? Am I good enough to read a new book? What book can I read? Well, I'm going to introduce you to something. You might have heard of them before. They're called penguin readers, and I've mentioned this in one of my YouTube videos before. Penguin readers, you can just Google that and you can find their website, and they are a company which produce books in the English language. And the good thing about them for English learners is that you can actually read books that are different levels of English. So let's say you're not advanced, you're maybe intermediate, or maybe you're a beginner. There's always a book within the Penguin Readers which is your level of English. And I always say, don't go for the level that you think you are, go up one extra level. Challenge yourself. So think about not staying too comfortable. Try and push yourself a little bit further with your reading. So when you're reading, how can you build vocabulary? Well, there's one really useful way, which is by having a dictionary and a thesaurus next to you. I'm sure you know what a dictionary is, but for those of you who don't know what a thesaurus is a book similar to the dictionary, and it has words in it. It has useful words, every word, and they will give you other options. So for example, let's take a very commonly used word. The word good is used too much, and I say this in a lot of my videos. The word good is used too much. So open up a thesaurus. You can find one on the internet as well, just like you can find a dictionary on the internet. Open up this thesaurus and find the word that you want to change. In this example, we have good. What other words can you use? Well, it will tell you. It will tell you to use words like great, perfect, excellent, amazing. Now already, just from reading that thesaurus, you have those new words ready to use. So you need to write them down. You can make a little journal. I think journals are very important for building vocabulary. So have your own little notebook which you keep with you, and anytime you feel like you need to pick up and you need to remember something, you have it all written down in your book. Another thing, writing things will help you remember. This was something I was taught in school and growing up. If you write something down, you're more likely to remember it. But, so let me just firstly explain. So we've talked about reading. Reading is a great way, and having a dictionary or a thesaurus so you can look at the words that you're not sure about. That is how you can first of all build your English vocabulary. Now, moving on from that, what type of learner are you? This is a funny question. So there's a lot of different types of learners. Some people are visual learners. They like learning with their eyes. So some people might learn best when they're watching my videos or when they're looking at pictures. If you're a visual learner, what you need to do is draw pictures to remind yourself of these words. Watch videos to remind yourself of these words. There's all kinds of, you can even get visual dictionaries now. And a visual dictionary is actually a dictionary, but it comes with pictures. So it's easy for you to remember words if you're a visual learner. Some people are better at learning with their ears. And if you're one of these people, you can learn through listening to me speaking in my videos. You can learn from podcasts. You can learn from radio. You can learn from music. There's all kinds of ways that you can listen in order to learn. So those are two types of ways of learning, but there are others. Some people learn through physical activity. Now this is a little bit harder. If you learn better from physical activity, what you need to do is find a class or find people you can learn with in a physical environment. So for example, you could learn in a language school if you have one available. And there will be lots of games, lots of activities that the teacher will give you which will help you improve. So those are some types of learning. And we've discovered that reading is the #1 first powerful way of learning vocabulary. But I'm going to tell you the other most important way of improving your English vocabulary. And this is not to learn the words. Now this sounds really stupid. Not to learn the words. Why would I not, if I'm learning vocabulary, why would I not be learning the words? Well, what you need to do is learn sentences, not just the words. So what do I mean? Don't just learn, for example, don't just learn 3 words a day. What you need to do is take a word and put it in context. Context means to put it in a lifelike situation, in a real situation. So for example, let's say we're learning a word. Let's say we're learning a word to do with cooking. We could be learning to fry, let's say. I'll start with a simple word, to fry, like when you're frying a steak or something. So you don't want to just learn the word fry. You want to learn the sentences that you would use with this word. Because, why do we do this? It's because we need to know how to use the words, not just build up the words in our brains. So you could decide, I want to learn some words about cooking today. So I'm going to learn, first of all, the word fry. How can I put this into a sentence? Okay, well, if I was a chef on TV and I was doing a cooking TV show, I could say, I'm going to fry the steak now. Or, you must fry the steak with pepper and oil. So don't just learn the word, but learn how to put it into a sentence, a lifelike, modern sentence. Because just learning words isn't useful. It's not going to help you. So people who say, I want to learn 3 words every day and I'm going to remember them. Not a good idea. Take it from me, I've been learning languages myself, and when I've been learning languages on my own, I've always found that you always need to put vocabulary in context when you're learning it. And this is just so you know how to use the words. So please think about that. So you need to put them into sentences and stick to a topic. Like I said earlier, you should, for example, decide that you want to learn words about cooking today. Stick to words which are revolved around cooking. Let's say you work in business. Maybe you want to learn some words which are based on business life. Then you can look up some words on the internet, on a business English website, for example. And when you've looked up these words that you want to learn, write down maybe 2 or 3 of these words that you want to learn today, or this week, if you prefer to learn slowly. And so you've written down the words. Now, after you've written down the words that you want to learn, what you next need to do is find out what they mean. Of course, you don't want to just learn a word and not know what it means. So look it up in a dictionary. If you're a visual learner, look it up in a visual dictionary. And if you're a learner who likes to read, just look it up in a normal dictionary. Now that you've done this, what you need to do is put these words into sentences. Sentences in which you would use them in real life. Now, I've been over this a few times, so I'm going to stop now, but I hope this point was helpful. Please tell me if you have any other questions about that particular learning technique I just explained, and I will explain it in more detail for you. Hello to everyone who's joining the lesson, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for your likes and your shares. It's brilliant to see that people are enjoying these lessons. And please feel free to tell everybody who you are, what's your name, and where are you from. I love to find out where my viewers and where my students are from. What country are you from? Now, let's move on. So we've talked about visual dictionaries. We've talked about... There's one other thing, actually, before I move on. So I said about visual dictionaries. Another useful tool is flashcards. You might find these in school when you're learning English, and these are pictures which relate to a word. So, for example, if I was learning the word chicken, we all know what a chicken looks like. It's probably one of the first words you will learn when you learn about food in English. So imagine you find it hard to learn words, and you find it easier to learn words with pictures, then you could buy a set of flashcards related to food, for example, and you could have a picture of a chicken. And that picture will stay in your brain, and you'll think, oh, I remember that word, and then you associate it with the picture, and then slowly you think, yeah, it's chicken. So that is another way, flashcards. So think about that. Now, another interesting way of learning vocabulary. This is a bit weird, but it doesn't really seem right, but it's a great way to learn also. And this is by playing games. So, what do I mean by playing games? Well, by playing games, I mean, have you ever heard of word search? It's a game that I sometimes give my students a word search. And essentially what it is you're given a list of words, and you're given a box with loads of letters everywhere. But somewhere within all of these letters in the box are the words that you're looking for. So try and look out for these word searches. You can find them on English learning websites on the internet. And they're a brilliant way of learning English because you can build these words by doing this. So, word searches, another great way to learn vocabulary. And you'll remember this because you'll remember playing that game and finding out that word. And remember, the thing you always need with you, always, is the dictionary. Whether you're looking at it on Google or whether you have your own dictionary at hand, then it's just a powerful tool and you need it. Hello everybody, thank you for speaking up and saying who you are. Lovely to see you all, and I hope you're enjoying the lesson. Now, another way to learn vocabulary, practice speaking. Now, obviously, learning English, your goal eventually will be to speak. You want to be able to speak when you're learning English. So you need to practice this as early as you can. Try recording your voice. There's all kinds of different things you can try. Now, just excuse me a second, I just need to charge my phone. So I'm going to carry on talking to you while I just plug my phone in a second, just behind me. Hello, George, thank you. I hope I said your name right. And I'm just going to say hello to everyone else. Hi, Anna, thank you. You're from Kazakhstan, that's great. I actually have a student from Kazakhstan at the moment, and we're having a lot of fun learning English. I find the people from your country seem very friendly. And hello from Sai San Lian. Sorry if I didn't say your name right. You're from Myanmar, very nice. And that is also another country which I've been very interested in visiting one day. So yeah, lovely to see that there's people from all different parts of the world here. Thank you for joining the lesson. Now, I think I might just hold my phone up a second, just because I think it might actually be easier to do this lesson. Right, so I've talked about word searches and speaking over the past few points, and speaking is also a great way to do it. So get yourself in situations where you can speak, whether you're speaking to yourself or whether you're speaking to a friend. All kinds of different ways that you can practice speaking. There's also a lot of apps on the internet where you can practice speaking for free. And obviously, if you want to practice speaking with a teacher, just going to put it out there, there's an option to speak with me on Skype if you want to book a lesson. And there's other teachers who do this if you don't like me. But yeah, so that's another way, speaking. And that's quite straightforward. You can just practice your vocabulary. And when you're talking with someone, you can ask them, what does that word mean? Can you please explain that word to me? And they'll happily explain it to you. I think that about 3 words a week is the best way to do it. And so 3 words a week, it's not too much and it's not too little. And I think people who try and learn 1 word every day, I think that's a little bit too optimistic. Optimistic means a little bit too kind of positive thinking. I think you need to be realistic. I'm going to do a lesson explaining those words soon as well, the difference between optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic. But I think it's a little bit too optimistic to learn 1 word every day. But I do post a word a day on my Facebook page. It's called Word of the Day. And if you are stuck for new words to learn, you can just look at my Word of the Day every day and hopefully you'll be able to learn a new word. So that's obviously another way of doing it. Hi, Pei, I think that's how you say your name. I'm actually in Thailand at the moment, so thank you for having me here. And yeah, so that's obviously another way. Now, 1 more I think I have for you before I'm going to have to go. 1 more thing, which is try to write more. Now, writing is another useful tool. I've mentioned reading now, I've mentioned listening, and I've mentioned speaking. Now, 1 more way to practice is by writing. And writing is going to help you a lot. Make sure you're writing down any new words you learn. Make sure you're trying to write them in sentences, not just writing the word and thinking, oh, I'm going to remember that word. That's easy. I'll just write it down. You need to write them down in realistic sentences. We say put them in context. And if you've been watching this video since the beginning, you would notice that I've been saying write it in context. Say it in context. Learn it in context. So that just means learn it in sentences, in real situations. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is don't worry too much. Words are words. You need words to speak, and they are a pillar of the English language. You need them. But don't worry too much about learning confusing words. As long as you can have a conversation and use words, then you're going to be able to speak. And then when you're practicing your speaking, you're going to be able to build that vocabulary, learn new words, and practice. So make sure that you're practicing your speaking and you're not worrying too much. Don't try and learn things that are too hard for you. Stick to your level. So, I hope you found all of these learning techniques useful. Thank you to everyone who's been in this lesson. It's been great to speak to you all. And please share with your friends, like this video, if you want me to do another one. And I will do it every week if you enjoy these live lessons. So please tell me what you think. Tell me if you find this useful. And also by writing a comment, you're going to be practicing your English. So why not start now and try and tell me what you think. It's been really good talking to you. Thank you, everyone. And I will just let you know if you want to book a Skype lesson with me. I'm going to post a link below so that you can book your first lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next lesson. Thank you.